Hello, and welcome to today's Communication Training Series webinar brought to you by the Angelman Syndrome Foundation. I'm Dr. Caroline Ramsey Musselwhite, and today I'm going to talk about something that I'm really excited about, and that's video feedback. How to give feedback, especially for students very beginning writing, and how to make it informative and strategic and also fun. So you'll note that I have a few websites and wikis where you can get some more information. I'll talk about some of them later. The next thing I want to talk about is the webinar outcomes. So my goals for today are that you as a participant will be able to describe what video feedback is and understand that it's a component of video modeling. We'll review why video feedback can support students with Angelman syndrome. We'll summarize what feedback to give to support student scribbling with the alphabet, and we'll talk about how you can create and share videos that show feedback of emergent and early transitional writing. So let's jump right in, and in our 5 steps, we always try to identify where does this fit. And today, this is mostly about teaching tasks, strategies for using this video feedback to support emergent and also early transitional writing. The tools are the alphabet, and that, of course, includes alternative pencils, such as the wonderful pencils made by Dr. Gretchen Hanser, and also the Explain Everything app, which is a very simple app that I will share with you. It costs about $2.99, I believe. So, video modeling. This is a mode of teaching that uses video recording and display equipment to provide a visual model of the targeted behavior or skill. And that is from the Overview of Video Modeling. It's a 2008 document by Franz Zohn and Colette Klingenberg. Another project that I'd like to share with you is a review of video modeling by Diane Browder and colleagues in 2014. Check the Angelman Communication Training Series Facebook group for both of those articles. Just want you to know that video modeling is very popular. It has been used particularly for students with autism, but can be very effective for other populations as well. I've just given you a couple of examples of some articles on that. And then I just took a screenshot. When I did a search for video modeling, you can see the types of things you might find. So lots of information about video modeling. But what I want to talk about is video feedback. So what I see is there's this umbrella of video modeling, and there are different types of things such as video prompting and computer-aided instruction. I'm going to talk today about one specific piece of that, and that's video feedback. And here's my definition of it. Video feedback means you make a short video that combines showing the student work, and that student work that I'll be showing today is going to be primarily students using the alphabet to scribble on a particular topic. And then we'll give voiceover to give feedback about that work. So we'll talk to students about it, but we'll make it into a video. The partner, and that might be a parent, it might be a teacher, it might be, and hopefully will be, also some peers, siblings, cousins, etc. So whoever that partner is, they're going to point out some features of student work, and they're going to use some of the tools in that app, such as highlighting and using arrows. They also might add to the student work, such as writing or typing in a message. And now that I've talked about this, I'm sure you're kind of thinking, I don't really get it. What is this? So how about if I show you a video? And this is a video that shows Hannah, and she's with her dad. They're at an Angelman camp a couple of years ago, and she has used the alpha board to write BFJJJ. And so I'm going to give video feedback. I'm using that app, Explain Everything. So you're going to hear my voice, and you're going to see me underline or point out features and then write something. So let's just go look at it, and hopefully this will make more sense.
Wow, Hannah, that is a lot of J's. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. And I was wondering if those J's could be for jump, J-U-M-P. Because when we're in the water, we do a lot of jumping.
So that's just an example. And notice how I said, I wonder if I didn't say You wrote J's for jump because I'm not inside her head and I don't know what she's thinking. I also didn't spend a ton of time saying, do the J's mean jump? Do the J's mean jaws? Because there might be some fish that have jaws. I didn't do that type of 20 questions with her. I just gave her ideas of what J could stand for because at this point, Hannah was a very emergent writer, and I just wanted to make connections to her picture and to the world with the letters that she had chosen. Now, how do we get students to scribble with the alphabet? There's a webinar for that. It's called Journal Writing, and Mary Louise Bertram and I did that together. And we talk about how you show a picture and you talk about it a lot. You use the students' communication system to really have some conversation about that, and then we have them write. But we don't pick one thing for her to write. For example, if we're having a conversation, I am not going to tell her to write jump because I am not going to set this up as a test where I'm telling her what to write and she's trying to find the letter J. I want this to be her ideas without me giving any information about what she should be writing. So there's a whole webinar for that, and I've given you a link to that webinar on this slide. Let's talk about why we'd want to use video feedback. Many students, including students with Angelman syndrome, are very highly motivated by and learn well from video formats. So if you just think about how many students love watching videos, and if they grab the iPad, a very preferred things to do is go on YouTube and start watching videos. And it's a really fun, exciting way students can spend time. So we can take advantage of that love and present information in video format, because what we see is that students often want to watch a video over and over and over, the same video. So let's take advantage of that. Why video feedback? Well, some students seem to be overwhelmed with the demands of receiving information directly from a partner. It might just be too much to focus on at one time. So if I'm sitting next to a student and I'm showing them what they wrote and I'm yammering on about it and telling how I saw J's and I wonder if those J's were for jumping, they're having to attend to listening to my voice, looking at what they wrote, observing what I'm writing on their paper, and should I be making eye contact with her or should I be looking at my paper? It's just so much, and a lot of students have a hard time figuring out what they're supposed to focus on. And it's just too much information. Another reason for why video feedback is that students can watch that video over and over and over. So they're getting multiple models, and it's on their own time frame. This reduces the demands of real-time processing. I love that quote. That's from Erin Sheldon, and I think she's absolutely right. That's what happens. So I have my cute little meme there saying, keep calm and play it again. That's what we want to do, is have it just be something you can play whenever you want. There are video feedback backs that I made in video format that students watched 500 times. I know one student has watched a video that her friends made well over 500 times. So they just get all kinds of opportunities to learn from that. So, for example, if Hannah was watching that, even though she had no intention of making J stand for jump, and in fact, she kind of told us, she looked at us like, you're crazy when we suggested that, but she's still learning from that. She's still understanding that if she wanted to write jump, J stands for jump. And look, there are 3 J's here. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. So lots of information, even if we got it wrong. I'm going to talk about just a couple of apps today. And anytime I mention an app, you can go to our wiki and look it up, and we'll have information about that app on our wiki. So just wanted to give you the link for that. Explain Everything is the main app that I'm going to talk about. And I really love this app because it's fairly simple, but also very powerful. So I showed you just a screenshot from that app when I took what a student had written about this story, and she had written D space G space G F K, etc. And I'm going to just give feedback on the G and the F, that she might use that to say go fast. And you can see I used an arrow, I used the underline tool, and I wrote with text. So those are the types of things that you can easily do using Explain Everything. So video feedback, what I'm really going to hone in on today is supporting students scribbling with the alphabet. So some of you have seen this slide before, at least I hope you have. When we're doing scribbling, we use sort of a before, during, after approach. Before scribbling, we set a purpose for scribbling, we talk about it, we model. So a student might, for example, choose a photo, and then I might pick a different photo and model myself using whatever alphabet tool that student is using to write. During, I give reinforcement feedback only if absolutely necessary, only if the student's sitting there and not writing. Afterwards, I want to give informative feedback. I want to scaffold their learning and help them make connections to meaning. So I made a little juggler to talk about this because I think video modeling is a total juggling act. So we've got to figure out when we're doing it, what should I say? What is really going to help the student to be a better writer tomorrow? How much do I say? Because what I see us doing when we first start out, and I certainly did this, is to be blah, 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 and this could mean this, and that could mean that, and maybe you have, and just trying to really over-interpret and go crazy. Please don't go crazy. We'll be talking about that in a minute. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is how to do it, the logistics of doing it. So let's just jump in and look at sort of the big idea. What we're going to do is show that writing sample along with the writing prompt. So when you saw a minute ago that the student had written about a particular book, so I'd taken a screenshot from that book. That's what she'd chosen to write about that day. And then you saw her text, the G and the F. That's the writing sample along with that writing prompt of picture, a screenshot from that book. I used my voice plus features such as circling. I underlined. I used an arrow to point to her text, and I wrote things such as the 1, 2, 3 examples of G, and then I wrote the words go and the word fast. And I instantly created a video of that screencast so then the student can right away. They may or may not have attended very well while I was making the video, but now they can use that video. And I share it so they can watch it repeatedly. This is the whole point of this, is it's not a one-shot learning. We're not expecting students to learn that incidental learning. We're going to give them a chance for multiple opportunities. So I'm going to start out with what? What should we say when we're doing this activity? Well, when we're supporting beginning scribblers, plan A is that we're going to attribute meaning. And so we do this very typically naturally for our typically developing children. So they've done the scribbling and something kind of looks like an M, it's M-ish. And so we go, oh my gosh, that looks like an M. I wonder if you were writing an M for mommy. Or we see an O and we say, oh my gosh, there's an O. Did you know that O is for Oscar the Grouch? You love Oscar. So this is a very typical kind of thing we're going to do for students who are typically developing. It gives meaning to those random attempts to build their cognitive understandings of those actions. So they're just scribbling, and I'm taking that little circle and saying, oh, that's an O. I'm taking those little loops and telling them, wow, that looks like an M, and M is for mommy. This is not always as natural for children with significant disabilities. In fact, what we see often is that people try to extinguish that behavior and make sure they do it right and not let them really enjoy the scribbling. What we want to do is make links between writing and student experiences. And as you'll see, this is adapted from Dr. Gretchen Hanser, who's really just done so much to help us understand the emergent writing for students who are struggling writers, and especially students who are needing to use an alternative pencil. This is Emma, and I just wanted you to see an example of some of her drawing and some of her writing. And so when this particular picture, she's got a lot of letters down here and WAC, and so there are lots of G's, and this was interpreted based on context in that picture, that there was a game and she's watching Anna, her friend. Makes a lot of sense because she is a beginning writer, so she's starting to make sense out of the alphabet and to use it very purposefully. So just a great example of how we might give feedback. And so the feedback here is in print, but you can see how you could just take a screenshot of that and turn that into an Explain Everything video. Context matters. So if a student had used the alphabet I'm showing on the side, this alphabet board, to write. So this is Emma, who at the time of writing this was 11, a fifth grader, 100% included with peer supports using a variety of light and high-tech supports. And she'd been writing about, they asked her to write about something that happened at school that day. And she had so many B's in there, and they were asking her, oh, I'm wondering if you're writing about Battle of the Books. And she got very excited because there'd been a big class meeting about the competition, and there's going to be a district quiz bowl. It's a big deal in her classroom. So that made a lot of sense, that that's the type of knowing that context would help you make that, that educated guess. Let's look at a few examples from Maggie. And this is an early example, and she at that time was using this alternative keyboard where there were only a few letters on each screen, and she's just typing lots and lots and lots of letters. And we might say something like, oh my gosh, that guy looks cuckoo to me. Now, do I really think she was intentionally writing cuckoo at that time? Probably not, but we can give that feedback. Or we could use the BA to go, oh my gosh, that is one bad hairdo. I'm not sure if you can tell, but his hair is fixed like a Christmas tree. So just a really fun thing. So we can come up with an idea where we can give informative feedback for what it might stand for. In this one, I might give informative feedback that the H's, wow, you had a lot of H's. And this was her cousin, whose name is Hickey, the same as Maggie. So I might say, oh my gosh, I see a lot of H's. I wondered if those H's stood for Hickeys, because that's her last name and that's your last name. You know what? It doesn't matter if that had nothing to do with what she was writing, because what it says is I'm teaching Maggie that these H's stand for Hickeys, and here's how you write your name. And in screencasting, you can see those letters formed one at a time. So let's just look at that video very quickly.
Maggie, I wondered if this H is actually for Hickey. And here's the H. Here's how you found the H. I'm going to put the arrow to show you. So you made an H. It might have been for Hickey. Or it might have been for hot, because you think that these two girls look really hot. They're really cute. Who knows? You get to decide, okay? It's your writing.
Maggie, how did you get that question mark from all the way down there?
That was another video from one of her friends. So just lots of ways we can provide supports. Now, I think this was the first video I ever did for Maggie. This would have been far more effective if I had done two things. One, keep it shorter. Two, written the word Hickey while I was screencasting so that she saw me form the letters for the word Hickey. I shouldn't have also brought up the thing about, or it could stand for hot because the girls are really hot. That's TMI, too much information. Later, I started giving a little bit of information, and then I would come back and look at the same sample and say, hey, I had another idea. I wonder if those H's could actually stand for hot, because those girls, and make an arrow, are really hot. Here's how I write hot, H-O-T. So you can see how I might support that by giving alternative meanings, and only one per each video. Eat that elephant in small bites. Keep it short. Keep it simple. This is another example. This is a writing later when Maggie is definitely becoming very intentional. And this was one where her teacher recorded the feedback. Unfortunately, that video got lost during an iPad death. But it was very neat because the teacher said, oh, Maggie, something like this. Maggie, wow, this is so amazing. You were writing about Ruby Bridges, and oh my gosh, I see so many R's. R is the first letter in Ruby, and so she writes the word letter R. And I see a lot of E's, and then we would underline the E's. And when you say Ruby, it sounds like E's. Let me show you how I write Ruby. It's got the R, U-B-Y, but it sounds like an E for Ruby, something like that. Hers was, I'm sure, much better than that. But the point is, that she told Maggie, I understand that you are very smart and you have figured out how to write Ruby, and I get it what you've done. And this was a video that Maggie was so excited about that she actually shared it with her mother and her father. That she actually, when she got home, she opened her iPad up, found it, and took her iPad to her mom so she could watch it. And this is a very special kind of thing, a very exciting thing that she's saying, this is amazing, this is really powerful. One more I want to share with you. I want you to just look at this and make some guesses. What do you think? Let's attribute meaning. What might that mean? Would anybody like to buy a picture? All right, there we go. Now what are your guesses? Now with context, I'm not going to say anything for a moment because I want you at home, or if you're watching this in a group, to be talking about possible meanings. It's very likely that you came up with something like SA might stand for sand. And so if you were giving feedback, you'd say, oh, wow, Maggie, I saw this SA, and I would underline it and say, I wonder if that stands for sand. And then you might draw an arrow to the sand because I see a lot of sand in your picture. Here's how I write sand, Maggie, SAND. Boom, done. Okay, that's an example. Some of you might have said that the SU stood for sun or for summer. Some of you might have talked about the G and talked about going places or good or great. These are all completely valid possibilities. And so we're just going to give those kinds of feedbacks, but in the form of a video so that Maggie can watch it over and over and make those connections of the possible meanings, that there are multiple possible meanings. I'm going to show a few tips, and my first one is to have fun at this because we can sometimes just get so serious and so overwhelmed and everything seems like such a big deal. So please, let's have some fun with it. So this is one of my favorite videos. This is Finn, and this is a photo from Angelman Camp, and so let's just look and see how I responded to that. Now, some of the letters here, there's an OOAAA ampersand Q. He's using a labeler to write because he really, really liked it. And this one says EWWW. So that's what I chose to respond to. So let's watch.
Oh my gosh, Finn, check this out. You wrote an E and a W, and it looks like she's saying, ew. Look at the picture. That's what her face looks like. Ew.
Okay, short and sweet. That's under 10 seconds, but very, very fun. Something he might want to watch over and over and over again because it's silly. I've already mentioned short and sweet. I can't say that enough. Particularly for students that have kind of a fleeting attention, that don't always watch a video for 3 minutes. So I tend to start by doing this maybe only 10-second videos and then gradually make them a little longer. So how much do I say? This is where we juggle this ball of how much am I going to say? And so short and sweet. So I showed the J, the jump video. I might make another video about BF and say, oh, Hannah, I wondered if BF stood for best friends because it looks like you and your dad, and I might circle them or put arrows to them, are best friends. So I could write a video in about 10 seconds and then show it to her. When we made that video for Hannah, she was so excited. She was just beaming because whether that was the intent to begin with, it is now. And when we showed that video to her dad, he's so thrilled. He's going, oh my gosh, that's right, little buddy, we're best friends. And so they're high-fiving together and really excited that they are indeed best friends. So keeping it short and sweet, making 2 separate videos. One is for the BF, another is for possible ideas of the letter J. Short and sweet. Here's another example. This is another one with Finn. He's using his pod on the Compass app, and he was writing today with a labeler. And so this particular time, they got to pick a photo to write about, and he picked this picture of himself with me, and he wrote one letter, C, and then he went and and hit the end and clipped it off, and they pasted it in the book. And so, am I positive what it stands for? Well, I can't be positive, but I'm pretty sure what that means.
Alfred, you made a C, and I'm so hoping that that C is for Caroline. Caroline. Cool.
And I did get a great big grin from him, so I'm thinking that we got that one right. Let's look at a couple of others. This is a student who's writing about his family. This is Ethan, and he's written AFKZ, and they came back with the feedback, which I think is very likely correct, that this stood for cousins. And oh wow, I heard you say cousins, and there's the k sound. The C can make the same sound as K, and the S makes the same sound as Z. So just giving that kind of information, because this is a young man who is a transitional writer. He's starting to really make sense. And so this is September 7th. Ethan wrote his first recognizable word. You can see he's using this alphabet flip book developed by Dr. Hanser, and he's written KD. And Katie is his favorite friend, and he spoke with her yesterday. So they gave him the feedback of writing, oh my gosh, that's so great. KD, yeah, that's Katie, and here's how I write Katie. And then below it, they wrote Katie, Katie. And the next day, here's what he wrote, KAD for Katie. So cool that he understands the power of it, since he made it clear that he wanted to look at pictures of her. So you can see that that feedback is really helping. It's really making a difference for him. Context matters. I've talked to you about that before, but I just want to remind you of what we're going to do with this picture. We're going to make multiple videos. One of those videos might be the one I talked about sand. The next day we might come back and take the same picture as a screenshot, put it in to explain everything, and say, oh wow, Maggie, I was looking at your writing again, and I have another idea. I wondered if this SU, I'm going to underline it, could actually stand for sun, or maybe for summer, because it looks like you had a really fun summer. Boom, done. Come back a few days later and say, hey Maggie, I was looking at your writing again, and I was wondering if this G, I'm going to underline it, might stand for go, because you got to go so many cool places last summer. Bada bing, bada boom. Wait, there's more. Let's come back another week. Say, oh, Maggie, I had some more ideas. I just love this writing. And I was thinking this G could stand for good or for great. And I'm writing those words down because your summer sounded really good, maybe even great. So do you see what I'm doing? We're giving lots of ways to connect to what she's written, but not giving TMI on any one. And also, I feel like by saying, hey, I was thinking about your writing again, we're giving that message that what you write is important to me, that I really care about it, and I've got other ideas. So really, really powerful. Another tip is that friends are best. So I'm going to show some samples of friends. So here's one that Maggie had written BA space DC, and those were not the letters for the names of the people. So here's what her friend gave feedback saying.
Oh, Maggie, is that a C for cool? Something against the government's laws.
Now, I love that. The only way it could have been even better if she'd written the word COOL. Here's how I write cool, COOL. That would have been a really fun thing. And then somebody else could come back later and say, hey, you know who that is peeking up above you? I think that's your dad. D-A-D. Oh, look, you made a D for dad. And so showing the connection to the letter D. So those types of connections can be really powerful, but they're particularly fun if the peers do it. Maggie has watched the videos that I made and her teacher made and her parent made a lot, but the ones that her friends made got watched a lot more. Imagine that. Sometimes we can't make sense. There's just not the bones to make soup with, and we're going to be saying things that are just stupid. So don't do that. We'll do other kinds of things. So things we might say, I see some letters from your name. Let's find them. Point to one of your letters. Let's see if it's in someone's name. You have a lot of C's in your writing. Let's find them. Let's see if we can write some more words with some of your letters. Just ways to give informative feedback. These are ideas from Dr. Karen Erickson and Dr. Gretchen Hanser. I just want to show an example. So Emma had chosen to write about her day, and here are some of the letters she wrote. U, E, E, O, U, U, U. And someone gave the idea of that it was water bottle. And this is a note from her mom. The WS sample is most frustrating to me. Water bottle was written by the staff, not sure where in their writing one was assumed she was writing about her water bottle. So if we can't find that, let's just talk about some of the letters that she used a lot, like you. We could talk about you and what meanings that you has in her life. You know what? I know 3 words with you that really mean a lot to you, Maggie. That you love it when it's time to get up after you've been working. Here's how I write the word up, etc. So then come back the next day and say, oh, I have another word that starts with you, and it's the word whatever. So we're just doing that type of feedback, making connections to words you know, words you care about, even though they're not words that we're writing that clearly represents something about the day. This also shows why just having a generic topics like chose to write about her day can be very difficult. If she'd had photos instead, then we can make more connections more easily. So anytime we have photos or remnants, that makes it a lot easier for us to have the context supports. Here's another example from one of Maggie's friends. She had written these letters, and these letters didn't apply to the little girls in the picture. And she's certainly not a lazy little girl, so we didn't want to say lazy. So here's what they did. They talked about how many E's there are. This is going to go very fast because the bell was about to ring.
Look how many E's you have, Maggie. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, just a nice, quick and dirty, but very powerful to just point out E's. What could have made that even more powerful? Look at this picture and see how they could have connected even more meaning. Right, they could have taken the E and made a line down to the E. And here's where you found the E, so they can connect that this letter comes up like this when you type it. So make that connection. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about how we do this. And so here's just a little explain everything mini tutorial that tells you how you would do it. What are the steps for doing that? And then what are you going to do if that file is too big to email? Well, first of all, if it's too big to email, there's a really good chance that you have made too long a video. If your video is 10 to 15 seconds, you'll be able to share it by email. However, emailing might compress the video, so you could send it via iMessage, and it will send anything under 2 minutes, and it seems to not compress it and mess it up as much. You could just send part of a movie. You could save it to Dropbox or YouTube, etc. We found that that iMessage is a really great option for taking that movie that you've made on your iPad and sharing it with someone else. And then how do we share those videos with the student? How do we have a whole lot of videos ready so that student can look at them? Now, you're not going to do all 3 of these. You're going to dance with the girl you brought. If you're already using GoTalk Now and you know it, then you're going to save these videos to a page in GoTalk Now. It's really flexible. For students who are using switches, it's switch accessible. If you're already using Pictello, that is a fabulous way to share these. What you have is on page 1, you have the students writing. Page 2 gives a screenshot of that, just a still of what they wrote. Page 3 gives your video feedback because you can have little short videos. And again, this encourages us not to make honkin' long videos because short videos are supported. So if you're already using Pictello, this is a fabulous way to give that feedback. A third way that this is just a built-in, everybody has this. When you save this video, you can save it to your camera roll. When you save it to your camera roll, Now all you have to do is just start a little photo album that has video feedbacks, because you can have you can just move any of your photos or videos. So we can move the video, any of the videos that show screencasting, we can move them into a photo album that's just called, you know, my video feedback or something. I'm going to talk about one more type of use of video feedback, and this might be more technically called computer-aided instruction, but using the same tool, Explain Everything, to support embedded word study instruction. And the reason I'm talking about this is just to show you another way to use it, and because I know that a lot of families say, oh my gosh, phonemic awareness, my student's not doing anything, doesn't know anything about phonemic awareness. So here are just some other fun things. So we sometimes will do a name chant with your name or with a word wall word. So let me do this with a name first. So let's say the student's name is Angelina. So clap your name, Angelina. Tap your name, Angelina. Stretch it till it's long, Angelina. Spell your name, and then we're going to spell each letter as we point to it. A, N, G, etc. Tell your name. Angelina. Say it like a cheer. Angelina, Angelina, Angelina. And now let's look at how we might use Explain Everything for that. And right now I'm going to show it with an example of a word wall word. And this was made by Ella. And so this is just a great little movie that Ella made with the word stop.
Clap your word, stop. Tap your word, stop. Stretch it till it's long. Stop. Spell your word. S T O P. Tell your word, stop. Say it like a cheer. Stop, 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 stop.
Isn't that gorgeous? What I particularly love about that is her highlighting of the letters. When I'd done it, I just underlined them. And highlighting the letters is so incredibly more powerful. And does that help? You bet. Let's look at an example here. This is Maggie adding some text to Keynote when they were talking about making sure to how were they going to include Maggie in a presentation that she was doing with her friends, and she had grabbed the iPad, and into the notes she'd written I, me, and those were two of the words that that Ella had made videos for. So you can just see that that can really support kids in their writing. This is another example of taking kids' names and doing the bingo song, but doing it as a chant instead of a song. So here we have,
There is a girl who's really pretty, and Lissy is her name. Yeah, Lissy, 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 and Lissy is her name. Yeah.
and then the last exemplar is to make a tongue twister using your name, using all your students' name and just having a lot of fun with it. So here we have,
Maggie, the messy mouse, made mini muffins.
so all I did there was prepare a picture first and then use the laser pointer. That's what I used in this one as well. Only the laser pointer to circle, to point to Lissy, underline her name, and point to each of the letters. And then I used the laser pointer in Explain Everything to point to each word as we spoke it. So your possible next steps are to share the webinar link, read some Facebook posts. I hope you'll post any questions on Facebook. Try to make a video using Explain Everything, and remember these 3 important notes. KISS, keep it simple, silly, short and sweet, and know that there are built-in do-overs within Explain Everything if you make a mistake. And then, of course, we hope you plan to attend and view next week's webinar. If you have any questions, we'll want you to post those on the Facebook group. And just want to say again, we are absolutely, truly grateful to the Angelman Syndrome Foundation for supporting this. And this series is communication training series is available by that Angelman Syndrome Foundation and a generous grant from the Foster Family Charitable Foundation. It's a family foundation established in Central California. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed this.